Hello there, Project Open Mic audience. This is Andre, and welcome to another Andre's Mic discussion. In this one, we're going to talk about me being humbled just a little bit. So, there were two lessons that I learned in one day. Sucked to be me, but those were L's I had to take apparently, because maybe I was getting a little off my path there. So, at work, I ended up making a mistake that could have honestly ended my career completely. Um, and that would have sucked had it gone worse than it did. Now, I can't describe the situation because the people involved would likely not want me to talk about it specifically. But let's just say I accidentally overstepped the boundary I wasn't supposed to. Now, it wasn't some sort of boundary where I entered someone's personal space, but I did allow something to happen under my watch that I otherwise wouldn't normally have let happen. And it was probably because I got a little too full of myself with all of the positive traction I was gaining. In most circumstances, everything has been working out well. People at my job like me. And I have been moving upward so far. Now, I could have royally screwed myself and been fired and barred from working with this particular company again because of the mistake I made. And it was a genuine mistake because I just assumed information I shouldn't have assumed. Which, in the long run, the person that was affected specifically by it, they spoke with me. And there's not going to be this massive blowout of a situation over it. We talked about it, hashed it out, everything's good to go. But I felt honestly bad because I'm normally on top of my game. And yeah, everybody can have a day where they make a mistake, but the mistake I made was egregious enough that it could have gotten me fired off of the first time. And it's mostly because it was leading to a safety issue. Again, not something I would normally play around with. And I could use the excuse that, yeah, I was super busy. My mind was on multiple things. But I still shouldn't have let it happen. And I explained that to the person. Like I said, we talked it out. It's not like it's something that would normally happen when I'm the one in control. Just one of those things where I overlooked something that I should have been a little bit more privy to. But as I said, we did talk it out, and they're not going to push the issue and have me lose my job over something that was a genuine mistake. Again, I can't go into details. Again, I know how people's minds work. And the first thing that you want to think is that something actually happened to someone. It's not that something happened. It's what could have happened had the situation gone south from what did happen. That's what leads me in the position that I could have been fired and lost everything that I worked and built up over the last couple of years. And that would have sucked because I would have had to start over again. Not that I couldn't. It's just not the easiest thing to do. Especially when you've already made it very clear the path that you're on and what you're doing. So that kind of did make me pull myself back a little bit, be more attentive to things like I normally am. And it just kind of reinstilled in me that I need to stay that way. I can't just let myself get my head a little full and thinking that everything's just going to work the way I want it to. Because at any moment, anything can come and sweep everything I'm working for right out from under me. And yeah, that is a humble moment to get. That's a very humble moment to get. Now, along with that, also came in the same day a discussion from an older gentleman. He's a military vet. And he's up there in age. He's really up there in years. He's definitely an elder, and one of those elders that people would discredit, not pay any attention to because they would just deem him crazy off the bat. Whereas I just took the time to sit down and just listen to him for a moment. Like, he's a really very wise gentleman. Like, you probably wouldn't get what he's saying if you don't think it through. You don't sit down and think about it. But if you really pay attention to what he's saying, which I will get to, is that people don't really mind the peace of others anymore. Like, you don't really see that people are doing the best they can to make things easier on each other. They're doing more to make things harder on each other. It's just constant fighting and arguing. And in most situations, usually over money. Something that if everybody worked together in specific ways, everyone could have. Not saying that you have to share all of your wealth. That was not the point he was going with. But you shouldn't have to worry about trying to thrive at the same time as trying to pull someone else down. We shouldn't have to be crabs in a barrel in order to just live and exist and be comfortable and happy. And he's personally going through a situation where his family is basically trying to take control of his money, what he has left to his name, because they know he's up there in age and he may be passing soon. As morbid as it may sound to some people. But he's very astute. You just, like I said, I had the fortune of being able to listen to him. I even got to talk to one of his family members who basically said he was a stubborn jackass. But if you just actually have a conversation with the man, you listen to what he says, and I would say that this, to a lot of people in my age range, and if you're like early 40s down, and you have any sort of elder that you can listen to, that you can glean some wisdom from, I'd say do it. Because while people treat them as a burden, they are a resource that can help you to potentially understand yourself just a little bit more. And like having this conversation with him did come almost immediately after I was thrown off my game with the other situation. And talking to him, just thinking about what he was saying, it did help set me back dead to rights. Where I didn't let the prior situation just linger in my mind, because that was only going to affect how I did my job and how I took care of my responsibilities. And honestly, he didn't even know that he was helping me with that. He just kind of popped up at the right time to say something that made me just step back and think for a moment. that I have to find my own inner peace and not let things disrupt it, which is very difficult in today's world with social media beaming everything right to you as soon as it happens on your phone, on your computer, on your TV, anywhere you go. But I did get that understanding from him. Just hold on to whatever you find peace in. Do what you can to make it worth it to have that peace. And don't let things destroy or disrupt it. Now, for me personally, that's a little bit difficult to do as a person because I overthink. I try not to, but I overthink. The only time I'm not overthinking is when I am deep into one of my hobbies, which I find to be increasingly more difficult to maintain because of life and responsibilities and trying to take care of things as best as I can. But I will at least have a little bit more dedication to trying to uphold at least something that allows me to reset and find peace of mind on a regular basis. I can't always expect that everything will go how I want it to. But if I have something to myself that I can do or engross myself in that helps even my mental state out after something like that, I may just be able to achieve all of the goals that I've set forth. And all it took was for me to make a massive mistake and then talk to an old man about peace and finding it for yourself. And sometimes you don't know what type of conversation you may need until you have that conversation. But a lot of people don't respect their elders enough to at least even listen to be able to have those conversations. Sure, some things that they think or may think may not jive well with what you think or what processes of thought you have. But if you just take a moment to just listen to what they have to say and kind of try to look at things from a lens outside of yourself, you might just open your mind up in ways that you didn't think were possible. Now again, me personally, I have always been about peace and tranquility, so to speak. But I was always of the mindset that you can just have it when you need it. Obviously, I was wrong on that at some point in my life. And I was always constantly reevaluating that once I got past that point with that realization. And even though, yes, I knew making my own peace was a thing, it's more of the fact that I didn't believe I could make it be my own thing. It was just something I was like, okay, eventually this is just going to be out of reach. But if I can see that that older gentleman has that in his mind and he is up there in age, nearing his 90s, I believe, then why would I give up on that myself? He's still pushing to have his peace and his tranquility and all the things he does, despite what's going on with his family. So why would I, as a person, give up on what brings that to me? When I'm much younger, more able-bodied, and have a lot more physically going for me than this man that's nearing his 90s. It was just something to think about. Now, if there's a lesson in there, hopefully for someone else, they got it. But I'm just at this point a messenger of what I found. But thank you all for listening and humoring me and dealing with my habitual run-on sentences. Hopefully, like I said, this is helpful to someone. And anyone listening, I look forward to seeing what you may say or what comments you have to have. I'm definitely willing to look into and listen to what other people have to say, just to see if different perspectives give me a more varied outlook. And I do hope that everybody that listens into this is in good health, mentally and physically, and that you're doing well. But besides that, folks, peace out, everyone.